Good morning, folks. Hope you're all doing well. In today's video, I just want to share one or two tips and tricks that I have used since being on Sorare over 3 years. The hope of doing this video is to try and help as many people in their goals, and that is whether they're trying to make a few quid in and out of players trading, or whether they're trying to win rewards playing the SO5 game. I'm just going to crack straight on with it, and as you can see on screen, I made 3 purchases of the same player last night, Ryan Spalding. I just want to give you some idea how he came to my attention and why I actually purchased him. Apologies in advance because I wanted to show you this on my phone, but for some reason I can't get it to stream online, so I'm going to have to show you the desktop version, and I use SofaScore. And all I do, and this is exactly the same, it's the layout's a bit different, but it's all the same. On the favourites, every league the Sorare cover, I add it into my favourites, and that will ensure roughly an hour before kick-off of all the leagues you cover, you will get confirmed lineups from every match of that league. Now I'll show you in more detail, but the reason I do this is I'm looking for players who are starting for the first time, either making their debuts or just making their first appearance of the season. I'll have to use the England-Israel under-21 as an example today, because there's obviously no games going on at this moment in time. But again, on the phone, it'll look very similar and it'll show you lineups. What you're actually looking for is players that have got no average rating, and it'll just show a blank. That will inform you that that player is either making his debut, his first appearance of the season, and they're the players that I want to look at, and especially goalkeepers, because we all know how expensive goalkeepers can be. So, for example, if you've got a young kid starting, it might be worth taking a risk on buying him in the hope that he keeps his place. So, like I said, goalkeepers are what I use this mainly for, but there are outfield players. Given a few different circumstances, I might be interested in them as well. Now, I've always said it depends how much time and research you want to put into the platform. In my opinion, the more time and effort you put in, the more you'll get rewarded. If you're playing Sorare on a small budget, you need to get an edge somewhere to give you some sort of chance against the bigger players, the whales, because in all honesty, unless you've got a bit of an edge somewhere, it's going to be very difficult to compete. So I'm just going to tell you a very quick story. I was researching the MLS towards the back end of last week, and because of the Gold Cup that's going on at this moment in time, I knew there were a few players who would play regularly for their teams who have been called up, so they would be out of their teams. DYOR Jones, who's the New England Revolution's regular left back, was one of those players, and through reading what was available to me, I knew they were struggling at left back without him, and I knew Ryan Spalding was a New England player, but he was out on loan at the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Now, as a side note, I looked how he was performing on loan, and he was getting good reviews, and there was talk that New England Revolution was going to recall him back from his loan spell to cover while DYOR is away on international duty. I didn't want to buy him then, just in case for whatever reason they didn't recall him. So I waited patiently last night for the phone to bleep with the New England Revolution's starting lineup, and Ryan Spalding was the left back. I then went on Sorare, and as you can see, I've picked 2 limiteds up for 59 and 74p, and he's rare for £10.35. Now, I'm fully aware when DYOR is back from international duty, 99.9% certain that he will be the regular left back, and Ryan Spalding will either go back out on loan or he'll be on the subs or part of the squad. However, given his price, I was willing to take a gamble on him. Strange things happen in football. If he starts playing and he plays fairly well, who knows? It could potentially get him a move to another MLS club next summer, because I haven't bought him for this summer, to be honest. I'm struggling with MLS players. I'm just trying to build a team up for next year. I don't want to be buying what I would class as my first team players now, because I think they're overpriced, because it's the only real league that's going on. So I'd rather wait till the end of the season and then start buying them for the following season. However, when opportunities like this come about, when they're cheap, I'm willing to take the risk. So my hope is this Ryan Spalding, he gets a move to another MLS club in the summer, and because of his low average score, he will come in handy potentially for the cap leagues next summer, or next season, should I say. So it's very handy to do that. Sometimes it's a pain in the arse with the European season when you've got all leagues, because your phone's just going ballistic all day, bleeping. But if you can pick up certain players like this or other examples, then it's well worth the hassle, in my opinion. So that's one of the things I do. But like I said, for me, it comes in very handy with goalkeepers more than any other position. So it's something you might want to try. But like I said, you have to be very quick. You haven't got time to be doing the research then, because a lot of people are using this system, from what I can make out now, a lot more than when I first started doing it, because especially European players, if someone's starting for the first time, by the time you get on Sorare, 3 or 4 have already been sold, so you've got to act quick. My next tip would be buy players of quality or proven history, and this would apply to more so attacking players, attacking midfielders, strikers. Now I could show you loads of examples of what I'm talking about here, and I could go back to the very first day I started Sorare, and the example I would use there is Mediterranean. I bought him without ever seeing him actually play, but I knew, looking at his stats, that he was a natural goal scorer. The hardest thing in football is to put the ball in the back of the net, hence strikers get paid the big bucks. And although I like to see the players play and give them an eye test, the stats mean everything to me, especially with strikers, because like I said, if they've got a history of scoring goals consistently on a regular basis throughout their career, providing they don't go to a harder league, then for me, they're going to continue doing that. So here's Mediterranean stats. I knew the season before I joined Sorare, he was at Rio Avenue in the same league in Portugal as Porto, and I could see that he'd scored 18 goals in 30 matches for a struggling side. I was very, very confident that he would go to Porto. I knew he wouldn't start straight away, but as soon as he started playing, that he would start banging the goals in. And that's exactly what he did. And he's continued to do that now for the last 3 seasons at Porto. He's arguably one of the best strikers in the Portuguese league. So when I'm talking about buying players with proven quality, history, this is what I'm talking about, especially with goal scorers or goal assisters. Now, I know Sorare was a different era back then. Players' prices were far lower and it was easier to make money. But you can see the ROI on Taremi. I paid £5.16 on a player that I'd never ever seen play. And I sold him at the time for 400 quid, and that's like 7,500% ROI. There are so many examples I could give. Oh, I'd done this when I first started Sorare. Hani Mukhtar is another example. I knew he was too good not to be scoring prolifically in the MLS because of his history. However, people will say to me, oh yeah, it was easier to make money back then on Sorare, you can't do that now, and those sort of percentages. I would 100% agree, but I would argue that you can still make good percentages even today, and I will show you examples of certain players that I've bought in the last month or two that I've made pretty good ROIs. And the player I'm going to draw your attention to is Alan Pulido. As you will see, 2 months ago, I paid £7.93. Here's Alan Pulido's stats. The poor sod didn't play at all in 2022. He's suffered with some horrific injuries. But I knew, looking back at his career, he is a goal scorer, and he's definitely a goal scorer in the MLS based on the history of the leagues he's played in the past. When I bought him, he was still out injured, but I knew he was coming back. So these are the type of players I look for. Players coming back from long injuries, or they're just completely out of form, but they have a history of scoring goals on a regular basis. Now, you would look at his goal scoring record and think, well, that's nothing to write home about. But given he's injury prone, which is a concern, he is on average scoring a goal nearly every game. Every other game, I do apologise, which is very decent. And these are the type of players, if they go through a purple patch and they score a hat-trick or they score or assist in 3 consecutive games, their price will 99% go up and they'll increase dramatically. That's exactly what happened to Pulido. You can see there's 4 games that he scored or assisted consecutively, and his last auction went for 1937, and the last public offer was £20.89. Now, as you can see on Sorare base, that is still an ROI of 163%, which is sensational. So for people to say that you can't make the sort of returns you could 2-3 years ago, that might be the case, but you can still make very, very good returns. And it might not mean, or it's not a lot monetary value, but in terms of ROI, it is huge. Had I bought, I don't know, 10 Pulidos, if I'd have kept one of them and sold the rest of them, I'd have made over 100 quid profit. So it's something that I will consider doing in the future, buying more than one, because I'm confident in these players, because I wouldn't buy them at all if I wasn't. So I may as well be profiteering by buying more than one, basically. Now, another example that might not have been as obvious as Pulido is Dominic Badji. As you can see, I paid 73p for him just a month ago. And the reason I say he wasn't as obvious, because as you can see is his stats last year for Cincinnati. He made 25 appearances, he only assisted twice, he didn't score 1 goal. However, if you go further back, in his Colorado days, you can see not prolific, but he will chip in with a few goals a season. However, like I said, especially with strikers, you just want them to hit a bit of a purple patch, score or assist in a few consecutive games or score a hat-trick, and then their price inevitably will shoot up. That's exactly what happened to Dominic Badji a few weeks back. 3 weeks or 3 game weeks on the bounce, he either scored or assisted, and inevitably his price rose. I know there's a public offer of £6.95 there, but his last auction went for £10.28. Now, even using the cheaper price of his last sale of £6.94, that's still showing 850% ROI. If you want to use his last auction price, you're looking at 1300 ROI, which again is sensational, and that proves to me that you can still make good returns on Sorare even today. I just want to make it clear, I just didn't go out and buy Dominic Badji on a whim. I was aware, again through doing a bit of research, that he was going to get a run of games because of injuries, etc. for Cincinnati. So I bought him in the hope that he would score and assist in a few games, and that's exactly what happened. So even though it was a sort of speculative punt, there was a bit of research that had gone in. I'm not just going to be buying strikers left, right and centre in the hope they're going to do it. They've got to show me in the past, through their history, that they can score goals, especially in the league that they're playing in, or in a league of an equivalent standard. Now, before I go, I just want to show you 2 players that I've bought recently in the hope that they're going to do very similar. If people want to class this as pumping, they can think what they want to. It's nothing to do with that. I just want to show you. Please do your own research. Don't just be going out buying these players left, right and centre. Like I said, do your own research. But a month ago, I bought Philip Mora, another poor sod who's had a terrible injury record over the last year or so. I paid £1.46 for him. He's a striker for Portland Timbers. As you can see, he only played 7 games last season, or in 2022. Scored a goal and then got injured. He's only played 1 game in 2023, got injured again. That game was last night. He came on as a second half substitute, I believe. But as you will see, again, not absolutely prolific, but he knows where the back of the net is. And if you go back to his Mexican days, he's shown he can do it. And I would say the Mexican league is at least on par with the quality of the MLS. So I've got no issues that he would need to do it in the MLS. And he sort of proved he can already with his record. So like I said, you can see there last night he came on as a second half sub. Hopefully he'll regain good fitness and start playing on a regular basis. And the hope is he will just start hitting a purple patch, either scoring or assisting in a few games or banging in a hat-trick in one of the games. Because I know for a fact his price will go up. And it'll go up significantly to what I paid for him, which was £1.40 odd. And £1.46, and you can see in the last auction he went for £4.62, and that's just based off the back that he is returning to full fitness. Again, that is 178% ROI, and the dude has not scored a goal since I've bought him, and he's still gone up that amount. So like I said, 1 or 2 games, if he bangs goals in the next 3 games, then for me his price is not going to be far off Pulido, so you're going to be talking again massive ROIs. Just want to touch on this geezer, Giacomo Veroni. He's available now at a lot less price than what I paid for him, half price almost. I have followed this guy for the last year or so. Just a quick rundown on his career. He was at Juventus at some time, obviously wasn't good enough at that level. He went to the Austrian Bundesliga for a poor side last year, and his goal scoring record was outstanding. As you can see there, 28 games, he scored 19 and assisted 4. Now, I know this is subjective, but I think the Austrian Bundesliga is definitely no worse than the MLS in terms of quality, so I would class it as on par. If he can score in the Austrian Bundesliga, then he can score in the MLS as far as I'm concerned. The issue with him at this moment in time, he's not a regular starter for New England, but the hope is, I believe he came on last night as a second half sub and scored. So the hope is that he starts more on a regular basis and just hits a purple patch again in 3 or 4 games, scores or assists, and I've got no doubt that his price will rise, and especially because he's still relatively a baby. He's only 24 years of age. So that's it from me, guys. I do apologise. I've fucking rambled on far too long. It's gone on for nearly 20 minutes, so apologies. I hope this has helped people who have either starting their journey on Sorare or they're just looking for a bit of help. If you are new to Sorare, you've got a gallery of less than 500 quid, then please see the video that I made a couple of days ago, because there's a competition specifically looking for users playing on a very small budget, because these are the people I want to help. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.